In this segment, we explain the pour-over will and how to sign and have a will properly witnessed. Executing a pour-over will is a standard part of completing or restating a trust, and is also standard when amending successor trustees so that the executors named in the new will are the same as your newly nominated successor trustees. The unexecuted pour-over will looks like this. For married couples, there is a separate will for each spouse. The pour-over will is nothing more than an ordinary will that says you leave everything to your trust, which is why they nickname it a pour-over will. It serves as a backup in case assets are left out of the trust. This pour-over will: 1. Automatically revokes and invalidates any previous wills. 2. Names your trust as the only beneficiary. 3. Nominates your currently named successor trustees as your executors. And 4. Contains some standard miscellaneous will clauses. Naming an executor is important in case a lawsuit or claim needs to be filed on your behalf. Under the law, an executor is the only one with the legal authority to do so after you have passed away. Again, the main purpose of the pour-over will is to act as another backup device that allows your trust to gain control of any stray assets left outside of your trust. In other words, if you happen to die with assets that are not titled in your trust, and there is no other way to get to them, then the pour-over will can be used as a final resort to gain legal control over the assets. Problem is that any assets which must pass through a pour-over will are subject to the probate process, the very thing you are trying to avoid with a trust. That is why you should never let the existence of a pour-over will be viewed as a substitute for titling your assets in your trust. It's not. Your real goal is for the pour-over will to never be needed. Most of the time, you can easily achieve that goal by formally titling your assets in the name of your trust, but even then, you still need a pour-over will as a safeguard against some unforeseen circumstance. To illustrate, we bring up the classic example of someone who buys a lottery ticket and is so excited to discover winning $1 million that they instantly die of a heart attack without ever having a chance to title the winnings in the trust. In such a case, the pour-over will could be brought into play as the only and last resort. While it is true that the law allows the use of small estate affidavits for probate-able assets totaling under certain amounts, we suggest that you never view that as an invitation to leave assets outside of your trust. While the small estate process may be easier than full probate, it is still usually more troublesome and expensive than if the asset is titled in your trust. For example, in California, you must wait at least 40 days before you can use a small estate affidavit. In contrast, there is no waiting period with a trust. Unlike your other documents, your pour-over will should not be notarized. Rather, it needs to be witnessed and signed by 2 disinterested witnesses that are at least 18 years old. A disinterested witness is someone who will not benefit or inherit from your estate under any circumstances, directly or indirectly. The execution portion of the will looks like this, with areas for both you and each witness to complete. Please be certain to carefully adhere to the following formalities when executing your will. 1. Before signing and executing your will, you need to gather 2 disinterested witnesses who at the same time are going to watch you sign your will. 2. Sign and date your will in front of both witnesses. 3. Be sure to fill in the city in which it was signed. 4. Make sure that both witnesses sign where indicated and print their name and address below their signature. When done, make sure the will looks like this and includes all of the following: 1. Your signature. 2. The signing date. 3. The location where you signed. 4. The signatures of both witnesses. 5. And the printed names and addresses of both witnesses just below their signatures. We cannot emphasize enough to make sure you carefully follow each of these formalities, because neglecting one or more of them could invalidate your will. Finally, as stated before, a will should be witnessed rather than notarized. But there is one exception. As of 2023, Louisiana is the only state that requires a will to be both witnessed and notarized. So if you live in Louisiana, be sure to do both.